All right, hello. Oh, hello, hello. There you are. So, welcome back. Um, I wanted to talk about a little bit more about demons and about snares. What I didn't mention with my experience of demons, um, which is I more or less said, but I just feel I needed to expand on it, is that they can use other forms of manipulation other than fear. And so, like a demon could, generally we would call them our addictions. Our addictions are our demons. We've got demons inside of us. He's got a lot of demons, a lot of preying thoughts on his mind or her mind or the mind. And so these are the avenues that are taken advantage of, because those are the front lines to test whether we are in alignment with divinity, and we're constantly being tested. And because that's how we become masters, that's the goal. So it isn't always initially through fear and intimidation. Can start off as quite nice. It will start off as quite fun, and it will often be probably very, very pleasurable. And that's the way they kind of snare and lure in. And this is the thing, because you can have fun and you can have pleasure, but you can have those things with the presence of love, or without the presence of love. And without the presence of love, it's kind of weird, because the energy I did there was a bit opposite. So I said without the presence of love, I said it with love, and then with the presence of love, without love. And there's always, that's the trickster. That's the trickster energy, which the demons use a lot. It's that testing you, testing. It's the supreme irony of the situation. So before, when the demon, it's like, ha 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 ha, you're not strong enough. Well, it would be like, ha ha ha, look, you caved into your lust, or ha 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 ha, you got angry and you abused this person, ha 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 ha. You know what I mean? That's inevitable. This is the way of life. Come, join me. Everything's fucked. It's like that. And of course they're all fear-based paradigms, because when there is the absence of love, there is no fulfillment. And because there is no fulfillment, there's a constant seeking for gratification. And that'll come with more pleasure, with more control, with more power, with more, all of these, really fun things. And I laugh because it can be fun, but in my eyes it's not fun, because it's so there's always like this like angst, this like, oh, it's all gonna fuck up somehow. There's this tension. There's always this fear beneath it all, and you'll see it in people who are like taking drugs, like MDMA or acid, or anything like that, and they're doing it for and they're not with close friends who aren't going to judge each other for whatever they're going through, but they're doing it for the gratification of having an experience. And when they do that, and then they start going into this heightened state, all their stuff comes up and they don't feel safe. I mean, that's a horrible feeling. It's a horrible feeling, and you can get really present to the absence of love. And it can even happen on MDMA because you're on such a high, it feels so good and you feel so loving. Anything that isn't that, you can't love it. Or you don't want to get involved in it. And so there's this kind of almost like angelic pride, angelic hubris. And I think it's an interesting thing because like the idea of Lucifer is the fallen angel, right? And fallen angels are, what was that kind of biblical quote? They got lost in strange flesh. They got so consumed by the sensation and the gratification of the physical, like sex, and they had all these beautiful angelic bodies and all of that. They became trapped in the material. It was through seeking more and more pleasure that crept in the absence of love. And before, I should also mention this before, this is why I call like Satan or like what Matthias Di Stefano, he describes it as one of the angels. Like there's Raphael, Michael, and then there's Saphael, I think, and El meaning God, and Saf meaning the freedom of God. So that's what Satan was. It's the freedom of God. It's the free paradigm to create, to expand, to do whatever. And we have to, and this is why it always comes back to the conscious creator, because it's about how are we going to create a better world, a more divine world, a more loving world, and how do we act with that in this realm of freedom. So yes. So there's that. And there are other lures that need to be made. We need to be aware of, and those are there we go. I forgot to mention what inspired all of this. I had a dream this morning about being at like school in an environment I didn't really want to be in. Walking down this kind of like avenue, and there were a bunch of police, and this guy was laughing at the police as we were walking down this. It was kind of like a boulevard, by the beach or something like that, and all the cops were kind of like hiding in this little crevice, and I said, "You certainly don't want to do that and get arrested." And saying that really loudly, and just to kind of like provoke this person and like intimidate him, being like, dude, you don't know what it's like to have your it's really confusing with that other little camera thing. You don't know what it's like to have all your rights taken away and be shoved in prison. You don't know what it's like. Don't unnecessarily poke the bear, right? And we continue walking down this boulevard, and as we keep going, people, like, everything's getting grayer, people are getting more destitute, and there's an even deeper and deeper lack of love as we go further and further, which reminds me, unfortunately, of Gastown in Vancouver, which was, it's interesting. It's beautiful to see people in Ottawa, in Canada, really showing some love to each other. Yeah, it's really gorgeous. And as we continue down, somehow, I don't know how this happens, but we get to this really destitute part, and then we get to the end, and then the dream changes, and now I'm a kid, and I'm in I'm in like a tunnel, but the tunnel is like the inside almost of like a worm or something like that, and everything's like really fleshy and gross, and there's this really like type of like presence, and I'm walking along, and I'm kind of like in my body, and I'm kind of like looking at the third person at this situation, and this, I don't know, it's like an alien. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like an alien head that almost looks like a sock puppet, but the mouth is circular and it has like teeth. And it comes down, it kind of like falls from the roof, and then around the teeth bursts into like blue flame, and it like kind of bursts in flame, and then it's dead. And there's this lady, he's like, oh, you saw Jeff die. Oh, like she was like expecting this thing to die, but and was like, oh, you saw it die. And then things get really like creepy, and the inside of this worm, all these like tentacles come up, and they're like shove her against the wall and start like almost like nailing her into the wall. And she's like, oh, and you know, she's freaked out by it, because you know, and then I'm looking around, and there's all these people that have kind of been like embedded in the wall and are kind of now a part of this organism, and yeah, so these tentacles, kind of fleshy pink tentacles, are going all around her, and kind of out of fear, she's like, no, I just want to help you. Tell me I can make it better. And it's like, love it. And it says, as it like shoves a tentacle down her throat, and like she's kind of like, and then they put like this fleshy strap of skin, and then it kind of like press it over her face and just like nail it down into the thing around her, and then she's there, and they've got their tentacles in her stomach type of thing. And then there's me being like, and then I wake up and I have like a mosquito ringing in my ears. It's all very strange. But that last line, so the fleshy, scary pink thing are snares. And it was scary. It's scary. It is a nightmarish environment. It is a very nightmarish environment. And that is the consequence of us not taking responsibility for what our experience is trying to teach us, right? And our experience is being filtered through our subconscious. So there's something in our subconscious that is being manifested in the physical reality around us, or in our mental space, and it's an impetus to learn something. And if we haven't learned it or recognize it or respond to it responsibly and appropriately, then it will taunt us and it will torture us. And that last line of this woman before she gets this like type of, you know, thing is, no, I just want to learn to love you. Love, you have to learn to love the creepy fleshy tentacles that want to kill you. You have to learn to love them. That's what inspired this. And I should have opened with that for some reason, but I didn't. So that is important, and learning to not judge these negative events, these negative thoughts, these negative impressions. It is important that we encounter them. We encounter them as lessons. We must choose to see them as lessons. And once we choose to see them as lessons, we then start to harvest their potential, right? And I think that now I think about it, that's why the worm, it's in the kind of the belly of a worm, harvest the potential, because it was harvesting people, right? So these these little snares and tentacles that want to come and like, oh, I tripped you up, oh, I'm gonna fuck you up, you know, like that, right? They're asking to be harvested, and they're asking to be loved. Otherwise, they will continue to taunt us, and that takes courage. It takes courage, and it takes forgiveness. We have to learn to forgive ourselves. We have to learn to appreciate the fact that we are bumbling monkeys that don't know exactly always what we're doing, right? As it's meant to be, as we will always be, bumbling monkeys. And so this is what I wanted to bring to the whole situation, not just for our own snares, but our own inner demons. Because once it's not until we start recognizing this dynamic within ourselves that we are going to be truly powerful in dealing with, you know, actual demons and just beings or entities or even just people that would take advantage of these snares, these perceived inadequacies, when really they're actually gifts in disguise of inadequacies. They're just lessons waiting to be unwrapped and harvested, and then we grow, we learn, and we acquire the authentic faculties of ourselves that our subconscious is trying to provoke in us. So that's what I wanted to say. Okay. Much love.